There comes a time in every man's life when he is confronted with the unyielding truth that his greatest enemy is not the world, not circumstance, not fortune, nor fate, it is himself. It is the untrained mind, the ungoverned emotion, the erratic will that refuses discipline. Success bows only to the individual who has gained dominion over the inner kingdom. For he who conquers himself has already conquered all opposition. As Marcus Aurelius once declared, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It is not chance that determines greatness. It is not luck that carves empires, nor is it opportunity alone that raises men from obscurity to triumph. The foundation of all achievement lies in mental mastery, the discipline of thought, the command over one's emotional machinery, the deliberate shaping of the inner world into harmony with one's definite purpose. The uncontrolled man drifts like a leaf in the current, tossed here and there by the winds of passion, fear, resentment, and doubt. But the disciplined man is like the captain of a vessel who seizes the helm in the storm, holds the course with a steady hand, and commands destiny itself to obey his will. Understand this clearly. Success demands detachment. Not detachment as a withdrawal from life, but detachment as the refusal to be enslaved by your emotions. If you allow anger to dictate your speech, you sign away authority over your destiny. If you let fear restrain your steps, you forfeit your inheritance of greatness. If you allow the approval of others to sway your course, you sell your soul into bondage for the price of their fleeting applause. But if you discipline yourself to stand unmoved in the face of insult, calm in the presence of uncertainty, determined in the midst of chaos, then you have forged the steel of character upon which all true success is built. Definiteness of purpose is the compass of the soul. Without it, man drifts. With it, he commands. To master emotional detachment is to fasten your whole being upon your chosen aim, refusing to be lured away by distraction, refusing to be deceived by appearances, refusing to be ruled by the shifting weather of emotion. You must force yourself, by conscious command, to become the person who never stops growing, who is never enslaved by passion, never blinded by resentment, never paralyzed by fear. For when emotion is subjected to reason, and reason to purpose, the will becomes invincible. I tell you now, he who rules his mind may walk into any storm and emerge unbroken. He who governs his emotions may face betrayal, loss, ridicule, and failure, and yet turn them all into fuel for advancement. He who is detached from the whims of the crowd will lead the crowd. He who refuses to be shaken by criticism or praise will stand taller than both. Success belongs not to the man who feels the most, but to the man who commands what he feels and directs it toward the fulfillment of his chosen destiny. The principle is eternal. Control your inner world, and the outer world bows in obedience. Your thoughts are the architects of circumstance. Your emotions are the laborers of fate. If you allow them to run wild, they build prisons. But if you discipline them, they build palaces. If you let them scatter, they erect chaos. But if you focus them, they construct empires. Every man who has risen to power, every empire that has stood the test of time, was born first in the disciplined imagination of one who refused to be ruled by impulse. Let us begin with the first law, the law of mental neutrality. This law declares that no situation has inherent power to disturb you until you assign it such power. The insult of another man is nothing more than sound upon the air until your mind interprets it as injury. The loss of wealth is but the shifting of numbers upon paper until your mind interprets it as ruin. The delay of success is but the passage of time until your mind interprets it as failure. Therefore, mastery begins when you discipline yourself to meet every event with calm neutrality, refusing to rush into reaction, pausing instead to choose your response with precision. If you respond, you rule. If you react, you serve. Reaction is slavery. Response is mastery. He who reacts is a puppet, his strings pulled by circumstance and emotion. He who responds is a king, seated upon the throne of his own mind, commanding with authority and calm. Do not confuse calmness with weakness. Calmness is power harnessed. A calm man is not passive, he is poised. He is like the archer who draws his bow in silence, not wasting motion, not trembling with haste, but holding with focus until the arrow flies straight to the heart of his target. Therefore, discipline yourself today. When insulted, remain calm. When praised, remain calm. When fortune smiles, remain calm. When fortune frowns, remain calm. For calmness is not indifference, it is the highest expression of power. The calm mind sees clearly, while the agitated mind stumbles blindly. The calm man is free to choose, while the emotional man is shackled to impulse. Thus I say unto you, if you would master destiny, master calmness. If you would master calmness, master detachment. And if you would master detachment, master thought. To master your destiny, you must master first your inner conversation, the ceaseless dialogue of thoughts, impulses, and emotions that shapes the quality of your every action. Most men walk through life unaware that they are ruled by voices not their own. They are governed by inherited opinions, by the judgments of society, by the conditioning of childhood, by the fleeting intoxication of desire. They drift because they do not seize command of their minds. But you must be different. You must awaken. You must rise above the average man by asserting authority over your thinking. The principle of autosuggestion is the very foundation of this mastery. Every thought you permit to dominate your consciousness, whether it is born of faith or fear, confidence or doubt, builds its counterpart in your outward life. The mind, like fertile soil, grows whatever seed you plant. Plant weeds of fear, and fear will choke your ambitions. Plant seeds of faith, and faith will produce abundance. The undisciplined man allows weeds to grow unattended, and then curses fate when his harvest is bitter. But the disciplined man selects his seed with care, tends it with persistence, and reaps a harvest of success. Detach yourself, therefore, from the tyranny of uncontrolled thought. You must not believe every whisper that crosses your mind, for the mind is a servant, not a master. If you allow it to run untrained, it will betray you at every turn. But if you seize it with discipline, direct it with definiteness of purpose, and impress upon it the images of your chosen destiny, it will obey with mathematical certainty. Remember the axiom, what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. This is not poetic fancy. It is the immutable law of cause and effect in human psychology. But discipline is the bridge between conception and realization. Without discipline, thought is but smoke drifting, shapeless, soon forgotten. With discipline, thought becomes fire-focused, concentrated, capable of transforming the world. Discipline requires detachment, for you cannot govern your thought if you are enslaved to feeling. The man who surrenders to anger cannot think. The man who submits to fear cannot decide. The man who craves approval cannot lead. To detach is to free the will, to create the mental space where choice is born, where the higher faculties of reason and imagination may operate without obstruction. I tell you this, the man who has mastered his emotions is unconquerable. Armies cannot defeat him, ridicule cannot deter him, misfortune cannot destroy him. He converts all experience into power, because he has learned the greatest of all arts, the art of directing his inner world. He does not run from fear. He examines it, understands it, and transforms it into courage. He does not suppress desire. He harnesses it, channels it, and refines it into determination. He does not deny pain. He studies it, learns from it, and transforms it into strength. Every emotion, when brought under discipline, becomes an instrument of power. Consider the principle of accurate thinking. Most men suffer not from lack of intelligence, but from lack of disciplined thought. They allow prejudice, bias, and emotion to distort perception. They mistake opinion for fact, desire for truth, fear for evidence. The undisciplined mind lives in illusion, and from illusion it builds failure. But the disciplined mind insists upon truth. It separates fact from fiction, cause from effect, substance from shadow. It demands evidence before conclusion, clarity before judgment, mastery before action. Accurate thinking is the armor of the strong, the shield of the wise, the compass of the successful. Detach yourself from the intoxication of assumption, from the seduction of impulse, from the fog of emotional thinking. The world may rage around you. Men may flatter or condemn. Fortune may rise or fall. But you, master of your mind, remain unmoved, for you have built your foundation upon the rock of truth. From this vantage point, your every decision becomes precise. Your every action becomes deliberate. Your every step advances you toward your definite major purpose. Definiteness of purpose here lies the cornerstone of all achievement. Without a definite purpose, discipline decays, thought scatters, will falters. Purpose is the magnet that organizes your mental powers. It gives meaning to discipline, direction to thought, force to emotion. The man without purpose is a wanderer, a drifter, a leaf in the wind. The man with purpose is a builder, a leader, a master of fate. To live without purpose is to live in perpetual slavery to circumstance. To live with purpose is to harness every power of the mind toward a single aim, and in that unity of direction lies invincibility. Ask yourself now, what is your definite major purpose? Not a vague wish, not a fleeting desire, not the dream of comfort or ease, but the burning, all-consuming aim that ignites your will, that commands your loyalty, that calls forth the very best of your powers. Until you know it, you cannot be free. Until you know it, you cannot be disciplined. Until you know it, you cannot be detached, for the mind without purpose clings desperately to every passing emotion, while the mind with purpose releases all that is irrelevant, all that is distracting, all that does not serve the aim. Detach yourself, therefore, from the trivial and devote yourself wholly to the essential. Force yourself to be the person who never stops growing, not because growth is pleasant, but because growth is power. The oak does not apologize for outgrowing the acorn. The eagle does not hesitate to break the shell. The man of destiny does not cling to childish emotions, petty resentments, or vain illusions. He casts them off as one casts off worn garments and clothes himself instead in discipline, detachment, and purpose. He who masters himself becomes the rarest of men. He commands his inner world, and the outer world must obey. This is the secret whispered through the ages, from the Stoics of Rome to the sages of the East, from the captains of industry to the architects of empire. Rule yourself, and you will rule the world. Calmness is not weakness, nor is it indifference. Calmness is the supreme evidence of mastery. The shallow stream foams and rages with every pebble, but the deep river flows in silence, carrying great ships upon its surface. The man who has not conquered himself is loud, restless, and easily disturbed, for his emotions rule him as tyrants. But the man who has trained his inner faculties is composed, steady, and unshakable. His silence speaks with more authority than the shouting of the crowd. His presence carries more weight than the noise of 10,000 voices, for calmness is power under control. To remain calm in the midst of insult is to prove your superiority. To remain calm in the presence of temptation is to prove your strength. To remain calm when fortune is stripped from you is to prove your mastery. The calm man cannot be manipulated, for he is not moved by anger, nor fear, nor flattery. He cannot be coerced, because he cannot be rattled. He cannot be bought, because he cannot be seduced by the applause of men. He stands above, looking down upon circumstance with the eyes of one who knows he is master. Understand this: agitation is the mark of bondage. Calmness is the seal of freedom. The slave reacts, the master responds. The world will test you, provoke you, tempt you to surrender control. But every trial is an opportunity. Every insult a test, every storm a training ground. Each moment of provocation is a summons for you to declare, I rule myself. Each moment of temptation is a demand for you to answer, I serve only my purpose. Each moment of trial is a chance for you to affirm, I cannot be moved. This leads us to the next principle, response over reaction. Reaction is the default of the undisciplined. It is the automatic surrender of power. It is the reflex of the weak. He who reacts is not thinking he is merely obeying the impulse of his lower self. He is a puppet, and the strings are pulled by circumstance, but response, that is the art of kings. Response is deliberate, chosen, born of calm analysis and directed toward purpose. It is the act of pausing, the act of remembering that nothing has power over you unless you grant it. Let me define it clearly. Reaction is slavery to impulse. Response is sovereignty of will. The man who reacts when insulted fights battles that need no fighting. The man who reacts when fearful retreats from opportunities he should seize. The man who reacts when flattered surrenders his integrity to the opinion of others. But the man who responds weighs every situation in the scales of purpose, and his choice reflects discipline. He asks, does this serve my aim? If yes, he acts with strength. If no, he remains unmoved. And herein lies the connection between emotional detachment and success. Detachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean the absence of passion. It means you hold passion in your hand, like fire in a furnace, contained, directed, made useful. The detached man does not deny feeling. He governs feeling. He does not refuse desire. He channels desire. He does not suppress ambition. He disciplines ambition. Detachment is not escape from life, it is mastery of life. Consider the great leaders of history. Julius Caesar, in crossing the Rubicon, did not consult the whims of emotion. He consulted purpose. Abraham Lincoln, in guiding a nation through civil war, did not indulge in despair when defeats came. He governed himself with calmness, patience, and unshakable will. Henry Ford, when mocked for his ideas, did not react in bitterness. He responded with determination, pressing forward until his vision became reality. Greatness is never born in reaction. It is forged in response. Therefore, discipline yourself to pause before you act. Let the storm rage, but do not join it. Let the world provoke, but do not obey it. Say to yourself in moments of trial, I choose my response. I govern my destiny. I will not be moved except in the direction of my definite purpose. That affirmation, repeated, lived, embodied, becomes the shield of the master. Now let us examine the deeper law that underlies all of this, the law of substitution. The mind cannot dwell upon both weakness and strength, fear and faith, despair and hope at the same time. One thought must yield to another. When emotion threatens to overwhelm you, you cannot banish it by force, you must replace it. If fear rises, replace it with faith. If anger surges, replace it with calm determination. If doubt whispers, replace it with affirmation of purpose. The mind is like a stage. Only one actor may stand in the spotlight at a time. Train yourself, therefore, to choose the actor you place upon that stage. Here lies the true secret of detachment. You are not your thoughts, nor your emotions. You are the master who chooses which thoughts to entertain, which emotions to permit, which ideas to cultivate. You are the sovereign of this inner realm. To forget this is to live as a slave. To remember this is to live as a king. Pause now and engrave this upon your mind. If I react, I am ruled. If I respond, I rule. If I drift, I am lost. If I direct, I am found. This is the dividing line between the weak and the strong, between the defeated and the victorious, between those who live as victims and those who rise as masters. Do not mistake this. Desire is sacred. It is the starting point of all achievement, the spark that ignites will, the engine that drives man from mediocrity to greatness. But ungoverned desire is dangerous. It enslaves men to pleasure, to indulgence, to distraction, to the constant need for approval. The man who obeys every desire is a slave. The man who disciplines desire is a king. Napoleon Hill himself declared, "The starting point of all achievement is desire." But he also showed that desire must be organized, directed, and purified. Let me define the principle. Desire must serve purpose, or it will destroy purpose. The average man allows desire to master him. He pursues comfort when he should pursue growth, pleasure when he should pursue principle, approval when he should pursue truth. His desires scatter his energy like sparks lost in the wind. But the disciplined man channels his desire toward one definite aim, refusing to waste it on trivialities. His desire becomes like a beam of light focused through a lens, so concentrated that it burns through all obstacles. You must learn the art of transmutation, the redirection of emotion into achievement. Anger, when undisciplined, destroys relationships and blinds the mind. But anger, when transmuted, becomes resolve, a relentless determination to build and conquer. Fear, when undisciplined, paralyzes action and breeds cowardice. But fear, when transmuted, becomes vigilance, sharpening judgment and strengthening preparation. Passion, when undisciplined, leads to addiction and ruin. But passion, when transmuted, becomes creativity, invention, the driving force of genius. Every emotion, however destructive in its raw form, contains within it the seed of constructive power. Your task is not to suppress, not to deny, not to flee, but to master. Say to your emotions, I will use you, you will serve me. You will fuel my purpose, not hinder it. The undisciplined man says, I cannot help how I feel. The master says, I command how I feel, and I direct it where I choose. That single difference marks the gulf between failure and success. Think of the greatest achievements in history. They were not born of indifference, they were born of burning desire. The great inventor feels the agony of a problem unsolved until he is consumed with the need to solve it. The great leader feels the burden of injustice until he is compelled to act. The great creator feels the fire of vision until he must bring it into reality. Desire fuels them, but discipline guides them. Without discipline, desire dissipates into wasted longing. With discipline, desire crystallizes into achievement. Here we arrive at the principle of definiteness of purpose once more. Purpose gives direction to desire, discipline gives form to desire, and detachment gives control over desire. The man who unites all three becomes unstoppable. He feels deeply, but he does not drown in feeling. He desires greatly, but he does not scatter himself across 1,000 whims. He attaches all passion, all feeling, all energy to one great aim, and he moves forward with the calmness of certainty. I tell you this truth. Every great empire, every fortune, every invention, every work of art, every advancement of civilization began with one man or woman who refused to let desire run wild, but instead forced it into service of purpose. Desire is your servant, not your master. Detachment ensures you never confuse the two. Therefore, discipline your imagination. See your purpose so vividly that every desire, every emotion, every impulse is pulled into alignment with it. Let your purpose be the sun, and let every emotion revolve around it, captured by its gravity. Then no distraction can pull you astray, no temptation can seduce you, no fear can paralyze you, for you are bound to your aim with the chains of your own will. And now, let us enter the higher principle, the redirection of sexual energy, the most potent of all desires. Napoleon Hill revealed in Think and Grow Rich that the men of greatest achievement were those who learned to transmute this primal force into creative genius, ambition, and mastery. The average man wastes it in indulgence, scattering his vitality and dulling his mind. But the disciplined man redirects it toward work, creation, and vision. He sublimates it, and it becomes charisma, magnetism, and power. This is not repression, it is mastery. It is detachment from indulgence and attachment to greatness. He who wastes his vital force is like a man who spends his fortune on trifles and wonders why he remains poor. He who masters it is like a man who invests his fortune wisely and multiplies it 1,000-fold. This principle alone has raised men from mediocrity to genius, from obscurity to leadership, from commonness to immortality. But only the disciplined, the detached, the purposeful can achieve it. So I command you, never apologize for desire, but never bow to it either. Recognize its power, govern it, channel it, and make it the engine of your purpose. Say to every emotion, to every passion, to every craving, you will serve me. You will obey my purpose. You will strengthen my will. For when desire is made servant to discipline, there is no limit to the heights you may reach. Every empire of achievement is first erected in the mind, and every ruin of failure begins with thought neglected. The outer world is but the mirror of the inner world, and he who would change his destiny must first change the pattern of his thinking. Thought is the architect. Action is the builder. Habit is the structure. Destiny is the completed edifice. If the blueprint of your mind is weak, contradictory, or corrupted by fear, then your life will reflect weakness, contradiction, and fear. But if the blueprint is strong, clear, and disciplined, rooted in definite purpose, and fortified by emotional detachment, then your life will reflect strength, clarity, and mastery. Understand this. Every man lives within the walls of a mental house he himself has designed, though most design it unconsciously. They inherit the bricks of belief from parents, teachers, and society. They borrow the beams of opinion from newspapers, neighbors, and television. They decorate with the colors of gossip, doubt, and fear, and then they wonder why their house collapses in the first storm. But the master builder chooses his materials. He inspects every belief before laying it as a foundation. He rejects fear, discards limitation, and refuses to build with lies. He selects only truth, discipline, and definiteness of purpose. Thus his house stands unmoved. when the winds of life howl around it. This is why you must guard the mind as a fortress. Every thought you permit is either an ally or an intruder. Every idea you accept is either a soldier of your cause or a spy of the enemy. The undisciplined man throws his gates wide to all manner of influence: fear, doubt, ridicule, envy, self-pity. These slip in unnoticed and sabotage his destiny from within. But the disciplined man posts guards at the gates of his mind. He asks of every idea, does this serve my purpose? Does this strengthen my will? Does this align with truth? If yes, he admits it. If no, he casts it out. You cannot rise higher than the quality of your dominant thoughts. A man who feeds his mind on mediocrity cannot produce excellence. A man who feeds his mind on weakness cannot act with strength. A man who feeds his mind on fear cannot live with courage. The harvest of thought is inevitable, and nature allows no exceptions. Just as soil returns in kind the seed that is planted, so your life returns to you the thoughts you cultivate. Sow doubt, reap failure. Sow faith, reap achievement. Sow discipline, reap mastery. And here lies the eternal law. You become what you think about most of the time. No more, no less. This is not metaphor, it is reality. For thought precedes action. Action becomes habit. Habit shapes character, and character determines destiny. The chain is unbreakable. If you would alter your destiny, seize control at the beginning of the chain, your thought. Detachment is required, for you must rise above the flood of mental noise and select deliberately which thoughts to cultivate. This brings us to the principle of autosuggestion. You must plant deliberately the thoughts that will build your empire. Repeat to yourself the affirmations of your purpose until they burn into your subconscious. Impress upon your inner mind the vision of your destiny until it becomes the only reality you can see. Say to yourself daily, I command my emotions. I govern my mind. I direct my destiny. These words, repeated with faith and discipline, become the seed of power. But beware, suggestion works both ways. The mind absorbs the words of others, the images of the world, the tones of society. If you are not vigilant, you will allow negativity to enter unnoticed. The ridicule of a skeptic, the gossip of a neighbor, the despairing tone of the news, all are suggestions that, if unchallenged, root themselves in your mind. Therefore, detach. Detach from the constant noise of the masses. Detach from the poison of cynicism. Detach from the endless chatter of those who have surrendered to mediocrity. Surround yourself only with ideas, voices, and influences that strengthen your purpose. Do not be deceived. Every book you read, every conversation you hold, every image you consume is shaping you. The average man thinks he is immune, but he is not. He is molded daily by the company he keeps and the words he hears. But the master chooses his influences with precision. He reads what elevates him. He listens to what strengthens him. He associates with those who challenge him to grow. He does not permit his mind to be the garbage bin of society's fears. He makes of it a temple of discipline, purpose, and vision. This is the essence of mental discipline: to direct thought, to reject what weakens, to cultivate what strengthens, to be detached enough from the noise of the world that you may hear clearly the voice of your own purpose, to refuse to be enslaved by inherited beliefs and instead to forge your own philosophy of achievement, to insist upon accurate thinking, to demand truth of yourself, and to accept nothing less. And now let me engrave upon your mind a formula. Control thought to direct emotion, to discipline, action to shape, habit to command destiny. This is the ladder by which man climbs from mediocrity to mastery. Miss the first rung, and the climb collapses. Control of thought is the beginning of all control. Without it, you are a victim. With it, you are a master. Therefore, I say unto you, never permit your mind to wander unattended. Never indulge thoughts of fear, resentment, or self-pity, for they are thieves in the night, robbing you of your birthright of greatness. Instead, hold your thoughts as a king holds his treasury, guarded, counted, invested only in that which produces return. For the mind is wealth beyond measure, and he who governs it is richer than kings. Self-discipline is the crucible of greatness. It is the fire in which weakness is consumed and strength is forged. The man who lacks discipline may dream of success, but he will never hold it. He may plan, but he will never execute. He may intend, but he will never arrive. Discipline is the bridge between the inner world of purpose and the outer world of achievement. It is the daily choice to master the body, to master the appetites, to master the impulses, and to subject all to the command of the will. Consider this: the undisciplined man is always at war with himself. His mind says, I will rise early, but his body says, I will sleep, and he obeys the body. His purpose says, I will save, but his desire says, I will spend, and he obeys desire. His conscience says, I will persist, but his emotions say, I will quit, and he obeys emotion. Thus he is divided against himself, and a house divided cannot stand. But the disciplined man is united. His thought, his desire, his will, and his action march in harmony, all serving the single aim of his purpose. He is indivisible, and therefore he is invincible. Self-discipline is the art of doing what must be done, when it must be done, whether you feel like it or not. It is the refusal to bow to mood, to circumstance, to whim. It is the command of the will over the body, the command of purpose over desire, the command of principle over impulse. Without discipline, there can be no mastery of self, no mastery of mind, no mastery of destiny. Discipline is the price of freedom. For the man who refuses discipline becomes the slave of his appetites, his fears, and his emotions. Do not misunderstand. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is training. It is the deliberate shaping of character through repeated action. Each time you rise when you wish to sleep, you strengthen the muscle of will. Each time you persist when you wish to quit, you fortify the armor of determination. Each time you refuse indulgence for the sake of purpose, you forge another link in the chain of mastery. Discipline compounds as wealth compounds. A single act seems small, but repeated daily, it builds unshakable strength. And here is the law. Habit is destiny. What you do once may pass unnoticed, but what you do repeatedly becomes your character, and your character writes your future. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. The process is inevitable. Every habit, good or bad, is a thread woven into the fabric of your life. Enough threads form a garment, and soon you wear the very habits you have woven. The wise man chooses his threads with care. The foolish man weaves blindly and wonders why he is clothed in failure. Detach yourself, therefore, from the illusion of the moment. Do not ask, what do I feel like doing now? Ask instead, what habit am I building with this choice? For every act, no matter how small, is building a habit, and every habit is building destiny. The undisciplined live for the moment. The disciplined live for eternity. The undisciplined seek comfort today and pay with suffering tomorrow. The disciplined accept discomfort today and purchase strength, peace, and power for tomorrow. Reflect upon this. The athlete does not train because it is pleasant. He trains because his discipline builds strength, and strength brings victory. The scholar does not study because it is easy. He studies because his discipline builds knowledge, and knowledge brings mastery. The man of destiny does not restrain his passions because it is simple. He restrains them because discipline builds power, and power builds empire. In every field, in every age, it is discipline that distinguishes the master from the mediocre. Yet discipline is not a burden, it is liberation. The man who disciplines his body is free from disease, free from weakness, free from lethargy. The man who disciplines his mind is free from confusion, free from deception, free from fear. The man who disciplines his emotions is free from rage, free from despair, free from enslavement to the opinions of others. Discipline strips away illusion and reveals freedom. Therefore, force yourself into discipline until discipline becomes natural. Force yourself to rise at the appointed hour until rising early is effortless. Force yourself to act in spite of fear until courage is second nature. Force yourself to endure hardship until endurance becomes your companion. For the body resists at first, the mind protests, the emotions rebel but persist, and they will submit. What was once effort becomes ease. What was once resistance becomes strength. What was once discipline becomes habit, and what was once habit becomes destiny. Engrave this upon your consciousness. Discipline is the master key. With it, all doors open. Without it, all doors close. It is discipline that allows definiteness of purpose to remain steadfast in the face of temptation. It is discipline that allows accurate thinking to prevail over emotion. It is discipline that allows calmness to triumph over chaos. Discipline is the unseen hand that directs every principle of success, the silent force that makes achievement inevitable. And so I say to you, do not wait for inspiration. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for favorable conditions. These are luxuries for the weak. Begin with discipline, and inspiration will follow. Begin with discipline, and motivation will ignite. Begin with discipline, and conditions will bend to your will. Discipline first, and all else will be added unto it. Understand this well. The conscious mind is the commander, but the subconscious mind is the executor. The conscious mind chooses the seed, but the subconscious mind grows the harvest. Whatever is impressed upon the subconscious, whether through repetition, emotion, or belief, becomes the reality you live. This is no idle philosophy. It is the immutable law of psychology and achievement. Every man carries within him a ceaseless dialogue, a voice that speaks day and night, shaping his beliefs, his emotions, his destiny. For most, this dialogue is their downfall. They whisper to themselves, I cannot. I am not worthy. I will fail. Others are better than I. And because they repeat it, the subconscious accepts it as truth, and it begins to arrange circumstances accordingly. The man becomes his own saboteur, his own jailer, his own executioner. But the wise man seizes control of this dialogue. He selects his words as a general selects his strategies. He repeats to himself with conviction the affirmations of mastery. I am calm, I am disciplined. I am the ruler of my emotions. I am directed by definite purpose. I transform every difficulty into power. I advance daily toward my destiny. These words, spoken not once but 1,000 times, burn into the subconscious and become the unseen law by which the life is governed. Napoleon Hill called this principle autosuggestion. It is the method by which the conscious mind influences the subconscious, the means by which you reprogram the deepest patterns of your being. Suggestion, repeated with emotion, becomes belief. Belief becomes action. Action becomes habit. Habit becomes destiny. The chain is unbreakable, and it begins with the words you speak to yourself. Detachment is essential here, for the undisciplined man believes every negative whisper that arises within him. He identifies with it, embraces it, and strengthens it. But the disciplined man detaches. He says, this thought is not I. This fear is not my master. I will replace it with a higher command. He chooses deliberately what he will say to himself, and by that choice he remakes his destiny. Consider this analogy. The subconscious is like a fertile field. It does not judge the seed, it simply grows what is planted. If you plant weeds of doubt, weeds will grow. If you plant corn of confidence, corn will grow. The soil does not argue, does not discriminate, does not resist, it obeys. So too does the subconscious obey. It accepts the seed of repetition and grows it into reality. The question is, what seed are you planting? If you rise each day telling yourself you are weak, you will become weak. If you rise each day affirming you are strong, you will grow strong. If you feed your subconscious fear, it will return fear multiplied. If you feed it courage, it will return courage magnified. The subconscious is the silent engine of destiny, and it runs by the fuel of your inner dialogue. Therefore, discipline your words. Never speak carelessly, for the subconscious listens always. Never repeat the language of defeat, for the subconscious will obey. Never say, I cannot, for the subconscious will ensure that you do not. Instead, speak only that which aligns with your definite purpose. Declare daily, with faith and with fire, I can, I will, I must. I am the master of myself, and therefore the master of destiny. But repetition alone is not enough. Emotion must charge the words, for the subconscious responds most powerfully to feeling. A cold, lifeless statement will not penetrate. But a declaration spoken with burning desire, with conviction, with the fire of belief, engraves itself into the subconscious with unshakable permanence. Thus, when you affirm your purpose, do so not mechanically, but with intensity. Speak as though your very life depends upon it, because it does. Now consider the higher law. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. If you repeat with conviction a falsehood, it will accept it as truth. This is why fear is so powerful, because men repeat to themselves lies about their weakness until their subconscious accepts it. But this is also the foundation of power. For if you repeat to yourself affirmations of greatness, even if you do not yet believe them, the subconscious will accept them. And in time, through repetition and emotion, you will believe. And what you believe, you will achieve. This is the method by which timid men become bold, by which failures become leaders, by which ordinary men rise to genius. They reprogram their subconscious through deliberate suggestion, and the subconscious reprograms their reality. The transformation is inevitable, for the subconscious does not argue, it obeys. So I command you now, write your affirmations, craft them with precision, let them declare mastery, calmness, discipline, and purpose. Repeat them morning and night. Speak them aloud with conviction. Etch them into your mind until they become the very fabric of your being. Refuse to speak defeat. Refuse to think weakness. Refuse to feed your mind poison. Guard your inner dialogue as the general guards the throne, for in it lies the command of destiny. And here lies the supreme secret. You are the author of your own script. Every word you repeat to yourself is a line written into the play of your life. Most men are reciting a tragedy written by their fears. But you must seize the pen, tear up the old script, and write a drama of greatness. Through autosuggestion, through discipline, through detachment, you command your subconscious, and through your subconscious, you command your destiny. The law is simple yet eternal. Master yourself, and you master all things. The man who is ruled by emotion, by impulse, by the fleeting approval of others, is forever tossed upon the winds of chance. But the man who disciplines his thought, detaches his will from the noise of passion, and fixes his purpose with unshakable clarity, he cannot be stopped. Every adversity becomes fuel. Every failure becomes instruction. Every trial becomes training. Calmness is his shield, discipline his weapon, persistence his path, faith his light, imagination his blueprint. He chooses his environment, he commands his inner dialogue, he directs his emotions, and he compels all forces both within and without to serve his definite purpose. He is unmoved by ridicule, unshaken by praise, undeterred by delay. He stands as master of himself, and in mastering himself, he bends circumstance to his will. Therefore, I say to you now, force yourself to be the person who never stops growing. Rise each day with the discipline to conquer yourself anew. Refuse to drift. Refuse to surrender, to fear, to anger, to doubt. Seize your mind, seize your emotions, seize your destiny. For greatness is not given, it is forged. Freedom is not found, it is earned. Destiny is not inherited, it is commanded. Let these words engrave themselves upon your soul. If I master myself, nothing can master me. If I never stop growing, nothing can stop me. If I rule my inner world, the outer world must obey. This is the final secret, the eternal principle, the supreme command. Conquer yourself, and you conquer all. Grow without end, and you rise without limit. Discipline your mind, detach your will, and you will stand among the masters of destiny.